if we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm a good wash in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
Toyota pregame show.
All right, that it is rolling along here. Continuing on up till about 7 o'clock tonight, getting you ready for Cuse and Pittsburgh. Brian Higgins along with you all. If you're just hopping on or if you're continuing along from the 315 the last couple of hours. Phone lines open throughout our hour together here leading up to tip time. If you'd like to join in, 315-437-7644. Second of two this year with the Panthers. Orange dropped the first of 3 weeks ago. It was a 4-point game in the Dome. We'll see if they can get one on the road tonight. Pittsburgh's been struggling of late. They had lost 4 in a row, but picked up a win against Miami over the weekend. Welcome in the chat if you're hanging out on Q Sports Talk. Today I got you for pregame here. Tim Leonard will be back after the game postgame. Radio, of course, as always, TK99, ESPN 1200, and your TV option tonight is ACC Network this evening. So that sets you up for the plan to get you through the night tonight. And we start off today, as we've started off, I feel, too many times this year, with a Harding and Mazzani injury report. If you were listening to Matt Park and Jim Sadlin over at TK99 a little bit ago, or our show a little bit ago, you've already heard this. Paulie texting me from courtside at the Pete. Elijah Moore, Chapo, has been in the starting lineup for the last couple of months here at this point. Will not start tonight, will not play tonight. He has a walking boot on. Walking boot fever, catch it, and will not play tonight. The word is, via Paulie, it's not suspected to be as serious as whatever was going on with Donnie Freeman. Donnie had his foot surgery last week, but Chapa out tonight, out for now, and we'll see. There's only 5 games left in the regular season. Will he be back? No game this upcoming weekend. Will he be back next Wednesday? Will he be back this year? And then we go into the more existential questions of Syracuse basketball and the current age of the portal and all that. Will he be back ever? You never know anymore at this point. We've not heard from Red on that yet. I would expect to hear something from that after the game. And yes, Chapa officially transferring because he has a walking boot on. Who the heck knows? I don't know. You don't know. None of us know. But Chapa Moore out. I'd say it is interesting to look at it in this context. Chapa did not score last game, played 8 minutes all in the first half, did not play in the second half. He was asked by Mike Waters, I do believe it was, in the post-game press conference on Saturday, if Chapa not playing in the second half was injury-related. Red said no, coach's decision, and did not elaborate any further on that. That was Saturday. Today is Tuesday. It's 3 days later, and now Chapa's out with a walking boot on. So what does it all mean? Other than Chapa's not playing tonight, I don't know. But as far as tonight, no Chapa. How will the starting lineup get adjusted? I'm going to guess, and everyone's going to love to hear this, I'm going to guess that Jaquan Carlos will start. I suppose it's possible Kyle Cuff could start at that spot as well. We'll see how it all goes. J.J., Taylor, Davis, and Lampkin presumably would start. And then you'll see, and now you're getting thin. Like, now you're, not that this team was ever really stocked with talented depth anyway, but things are getting thin. Or you could move, your other option here is you could move Lucas Taylor up to the 2 and get Chris Bell back in the starting lineup, which would be another reasonable option or way to go here tonight. So we'll see if we can get you that information. We should have that information before the end of the pregame show today, but stay tuned for that. I don't know, about 40 minutes or so. For now, will it be the 9th different starting lineup this season? They've already started 8 different starting lineups. I'm not entirely certain of how many of these potential lineups we've actually seen before. I think most of actually the potential options we've actually already seen, so we may not technically get a 9th different starting lineup tonight. We may, but it will be yet another starting lineup change this season, of which they have been plentiful now over the course of the season. Let's start, though, looking back to Saturday. And Saturday was another in a long line of very similar games. Games that, at least against teams in the middle of the league. I'm not talking about Duke. I'm not talking about Louisville going back. I'm talking about basically anyone outside the top three in the league. You're getting past the top three in the league. Syracuse has been in all these games this year, right? But they've lost a majority of those games this year. The games have been close. Either they've been slow starts, rallies back, the opposite, whatever. For the most part, this year in the league, games against teams that are not named the top three teams in the league have been close into the latter stages of the game. And then more often than not, the final score has ended something like it did on Saturday. Carolina 88 and Syracuse 82. Maybe not as high scoring as that, but the gist was similar as it was again Saturday. And you can look back at so many plays that happened late in these games. I think of Syracuse was down 2. They were down 10. They cut it back to 2. There's a little bit more than a minute left. North Carolina's got the ball. They drive right past Jaquan Carlos. Kyle Cuff doesn't rotate over and help defense. Nobody fouls. Easy layup. Ball goes the other way. Now it's a 4-point game. Kyle Cuff quick triggers a 3 on a day that he hadn't made a shot. Badly misses it. And while the game wasn't over then, it sure as heck felt like it. And not that Syracuse was guaranteed to win if things like that happened differently, but it was amazing how quickly it went from clawing back to like this series of 3 things in the span of about 5 seconds that immediately imploded your hopes at the end of that game. And hey, that's the case when you're in games like that, when you're playing, and it's just, you don't have significant talent this year, and it's whatever's going on. Like a simple play like that can completely submarine how things are going at that point. So JJ, foul trouble first half, ended up having a nice game, 22 points yet again. Eddie Lampkin, this has become an old hat at this point. 26 points, 11 rebounds, 34 minutes. The early season back issues are clearly behind him. Not a pun. Lucas Taylor didn't miss a shot, didn't take many. He had 10 points on 4 total shots. Jaquan Carlos, 32 minutes. And now with Chapa Moore out injured tonight, for those that want that number to go down, don't know if we're going to get to see that tonight. Peter Mastorovich, Jair Davis evenly split the 40 minutes at power forward this last game. Mastorovich, though, got 25. Davis just 15, even though Jair scored 9. Red preferring Mastorovich's defense and the way kind of stuff was moving on offense with him in the game. But the main issue last game and with this team remains this: no matter what 5 you have on the court, almost at any time, you're going to have a glaring deficiency or 2. Regardless of who you put in, you're either opening up a hole on defense, opening up a black hole on offense. There's almost no way to arrange what you got right now in a way that is 100% pleasing and that doesn't give the other team a pretty easy area of exploitation on one end of the court or the other, or both at times. So it's we get on Red, and deserving so. Like, his substitution patterns this year have been bizarre at points. But even if they were normal, and I do generally prefer a steadier substitution pattern, that's just the way I like to see it. Then second half, if somebody's got the hot hand or something, you ride it a little bit, like maybe they could have, the way Naheem was operating in the zone midway through the second half last game when they initially came back from 10 down the first time and then he got lifted. But you just never quite know who's coming out and who's going in. And now one less player to deal with. So Donnie Freeman out for the year. We know that already. Chapa Moore out for tonight at minimum. The plague of the walking brute strikes again. As far as Pittsburgh, they have their own Harding and Mazzotti injury issue. Jalen Lowe missed last game due to a concussion that he sustained while normally this wouldn't matter, but they were playing SMU a few days ago, and he got concussed when he collided heads with Boopy Miller and it's just fun to say boopy. So that's less fun for Jalen, but he is expected back tonight. He was fantastic in the first meeting between these two teams, in which he put up 22 points in that game. But that's the stage here today. It's a game the Orange played 3 weeks ago. It's a game that went down very similarly to the Carolina game. It's a game. Plays the last couple of minutes, don't go your way, you lose by 4. And that has been the tale so often recently for Orange basketball. All right, here's what we got coming up on the show. Phone lines open if you'd like to participate. 315-437-7644. We'll look back at that meeting a few weeks ago. We'll look at tonight. We'll hopefully get the starting lineups here at some point, try to explore these injury issues more. When we come back, Red did his weekly ACC Zoom media teleconference yesterday. We'll play that back to you. Lots of interesting questions that came yesterday that I think you'll like to hear the answers to. That coming up next year as we get you ready for Syracuse and Pittsburgh tonight on Cuse Sports Talk at ESPN Radio.
Water.
Yeah, Kyle Cuff, he'll take that shot. Oh, he'll take it. Look, it's Mike. Mike's here. Are we going to have some fantastically lit air hockey?
The night game.
Night game. Yeah. You're playing under the lights. Yeah. I have the puck. Where? Oh, my goodness.
That's actually really helping, too.
Hopefully I just carved the path. Okay, let's see. Here we go.
This is actually pretty cool. God damn it. That was impressive.
Wow. Woo! Night game. 1-0 night games.
And honestly, I really like that, though. With it being dark with the lights on
No,
the
that's
side,
a great
that actually
vibe.
is really cool.
I enjoy the vibe. Thoroughly enjoyed the vibe.
You're getting very accurate with your first shot, I may add.
Well, we know this is turning into a very first shot game.
Yeah, because the last, 3 games, I've went in with the same mindset of, blocking the first goal, and you have right pocketed me every time.
Okay. The computer needs to be plugged in. It's dying. It's dying.
Yeah, dude, that's really fast.
What's that? You warm up your fingers?
No, just to block the goal. That's the
Joe Exotic wanted you to throw the gloves. Drop the gloves.
I should have immediately. Just as you're hitting, boom.
I just yank your coat over your face.
How does he explain it? He says something when he teaches the kid in Mighty Ducks, the older kid, when he's teaching Kenny Wu how to fight. He puts words with him.
Oh man.
He's like, you pull, you something.
You're asking me to remember something that I haven't seen in a really long time.
Yeah, Mighty Ducks 2 probably doesn't hit the same to you as it does to me.
That's a long. I'm sure I saw it.
Yeah, because Mighty Ducks was right in my age. So,
Yeah, it was never I know I saw him. It was never a very
You also haven't
quotable.
seen Step Brothers, or not Step Brothers, Benchwarmers. So I don't know if I'm really trusting your insight to sports movies. Sports cinema.
I don't know if we put.
Benchwarmers is good.
Okay, but of the 2 movies that you're trying to quote here, I don't know if on the list of sports cinema, if that's what I should be getting called out for.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You've seen the greatest game ever played, right?
Have I? Which one is that?
With Shia, golf.
I don't know if I watched that the whole way through. That's the one on Francis We Met?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I watched the whole thing.
Really?
I don't think so.
I think that's probably one of his most underappreciated roles.
We Met is fun to say. Hey, look, there's Tiger.
I had somebody spend about 3 minutes yesterday explaining a movie to me, and they just gave me the wrong title.
Oh,
Like they're like, "You've seen the movie Get Out, right?" And I was like, "No, I've never heard of it." And then they proceed to explain the Get Out movie to me
oh.
without breaking. So I was like, "I gotta let them ride it out." And then at the end, I was like, "Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think it's Get Out." And then they felt it.
Get Out's a great movie.
It is.
That is trippy, man.
Yeah, really trippy movie. That's why you should watch Severance, man.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Mike.
It's Apple TV.
It's not that. It's just like that's to start a series like that feels like that's like a level of effort I just don't have in my bones at the moment.
I don't like it.
Ford and Burdick Toyota pregame show.
All right, back at it here on this Tuesday evening, getting you ready for Cuse and Pittsburgh at the Peterson Events Center. That is coming up in 45 minutes or so. ACC Network, your television. TK99 is your radio tonight as per the usual. I've got pregame for you right now. No duh. Tim Leonard will have postgame for you after the game today. Phone lines will be wide open. It'll be interesting to hear if and what Red gets to say about Elijah Moore not playing in tonight's game with a walking boot. He had so much fun dealing with the month long of Donnie Freeman that just some more excitement in the life and times that Red Autry has had this year. Man, he's just got to be loving it up right now. Speaking of Red, yesterday was Monday. Every Monday, all of the ACC coaches, they get on a Zoom teleconference one at a time. All simultaneously. That would just be ridiculous. But, man, there's a lot of teams in the league now. This thing takes like 3 hours. It just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. We're not going to play you all 3 hours. What we're going to do right now is play you Red's portion. Here is Adrian Autry with the ACC media from yesterday.
Hey, Adrian. I think it was on your radio show. You touched on how you hope to improve as a coach from year 2 to year 3, and you mentioned roster construction. What have you learned that you think will help you guys moving forward there?
I think some of the things that I probably can answer that question better once the season is over with. But you learn some things and how important roster construction is. Obviously, the NIL component. And trying to get it right and really trying to, establish the parameters. I think, this is the first year that we really had to kind of dive into it because my first year, I had a lot of continuity. And this year kind of going out there and having to do the research and try to put together a team. And obviously with the NIL part of it, you really have to, you don't really know you kind of have an idea what you think you get or you want to get, but you got to really take your time and be more deliberate, I think, and build it. But patience is one of the things I think you got to have in this landscape.
And this might be sort of the same answer, and if so, I'm sorry, but I expect you guys wanted a little bit more production from the guys you got out of the portal this year. Is there anything you've learned about assessing sort of those guys moving forward that you think can help?
Well, the season's not over with, and I would like to. I can probably give you a more definitive answer once the season is over with. Like I tell my guys all the time, you don't evaluate yourself while you're playing. You evaluate yourself once the game is over with. And the same with us. We're going to evaluate this thing. Obviously, does it look great? No. Where we're at right now is not good. And, it's not a lot of hope. You just haven't finished. I'm always the optimist. I'm always trying to get better. Basketball is a game of runs. Teams can go on runs. And so I'm still, in this season. And I can kind of give you that answer, Chris, once everything is kind of finished.
Understand. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Donna, you're next.
Yeah, hi, Adrian. So there's been a couple of coaches on today who have talked about how their teams have dealt with adversity. They've lost a few games here and there. They've lost a lot of games here and there. I'm curious about how you have approached that with your team.
We talk about growth mindset, watching film, pulling positives and negatives, obviously, and just kind of, just preparing for each game. And, when you have an older group, I think it resonates a little bit more. And, again, it's no more victories, but our guys are still present. They're still competing. Because we have seniors, I think that helps us to prepare. But really, just our process, Donna. We haven't changed our process, and we all. I say once you stop having hope and belief, then your season is done, and we still have hope and belief that we can, win the next game, and then win the next game after that, and then move on from that. So that's how we're approaching this. Obviously, it may sound corny, so to speak, but that's just kind of how we're approaching it. And we got a good group of guys, and again, having an older group, I think you can deal with that a little bit better.
If you had to point to a thing or two over the next few weeks that you are trying to get better at, and specifically, what would those things be? And what would those things be? A couple of things. I mean, and how do you plan on sort of going about it?
I think when you talk about offensively, I think we reducing our turnovers and then the type of turnovers that we have. Obviously, some of the turnovers in the time. So really more ball security, continually work on our shot selection, which typically when we have good shot selection, we gives ourselves a chance. Especially on the defensive side of it, as far as transition defense and defensively, I would like us to be able to stop some people. Hold some people in the 70s, in the 60s, not in the 80s. So again, closing out, with more aggression, keeping people in front of us, and then finishing possessions. And again, a lot of our stuff is late in the game. Like if you really look at our game and we hold teams, we're in like the 60s, maybe begin creeping up on the 70s, and in like the last 3 or 4 minutes, it just kind of, it goes back and forth. So I like to have some more resistance, especially late down the stretch.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Waters.
Yeah, Adrian, kind of maybe playing off of what you were just talking about in terms of defense. The last 4 games, there's been a really stark difference between how many points teams are scoring on you in the first half versus second half. Second half totals, including field goal percentage, are going way up. Is there anything you guys are noticing in terms? Is it the way the other teams are they changing the way they're attacking you in the second half, or are guys losing their focus or getting tired in the second half?
I don't know if it's it's probably a combination of all those things that you've said, but when it really comes down to it, I think it's focus for us. I think it's focus. I think towards the end, obviously when you've come up short a couple of times, more than a couple of times, you haven't finished out some games. I think you start your intention. Your intention goes. I mean, again, some of the stuff that has happened late is all attention. A mixed box out. Extra rotation. Those are the things that I see late. More of the attention. I don't think it's fatigue. None of our guys play 40 minutes. They all, our best players play around 32, 33 minutes. They're in shape. So I think it's really more of attention.
Justin Gershon.
Hey, Coach. I'm just wondering what you've seen from Lucas Taylor this year and what made him such an interesting addition for you guys when he got in the portal.
I thought Lucas was a guy that could shoot the basketball. I loved his athleticism and speed, and on the defensive side of it, a guy that tried to make people work. He's been our top defender, and so I like that. But his shooting, his size, his athleticism, I thought would be a great addition for us. And I think the biggest thing with Lucas is was really more the consistency piece. He started off slow, and that's an adjustment, and then he's had stretches of games where he's really been, a big part of it. Then it's been stretches of games where, he hasn't, he just hasn't been consistent. But, going through the portal, he was a guy that I liked his size. I liked his athleticism and on the defensive side of it, I loved, the fact that he had a really good idea of how to play defense. And I thought he'd be one of our better defenders.
Our next question comes from Zach Wolf.
Coach, obviously Chris has had a bit of a down year compared to last year. It seems like he's shooting a little bit less recently, but also I guess maintaining a sort of higher percentage. I wanted to get your thoughts on just like what you make of him shooting less this year, but then maybe like being more efficient, and what you thought of that.
I think Chris, obviously coming off the year that he had last year, and when you have guys like Chris, guys that really, they shoot the ball at a high level, and a lot of his success and his opportunity depends on the people around him. And I just think the dynamics of our team changed. I thought last year, we had, JJ, we had Judah and Malik, playing out of that short roll. Those are three guys that could put pressure on the rim and it allowed him to get more shots. And I thought Quadir did a really good job of kind of finding him. And this year, we have, obviously we score more points than we did last year, and we got more guys that, you know, that are scoring. JJ's been tasked with scoring more. Jair, that's what he naturally is. Donnie, he's a guy that scores, and so I think that was a big adjustment for him and a big adjustment for us. So I don't know necessarily if people would like to say he regressed. I don't think he regressed. I just think the dynamics of our team changed. And obviously, with his shooting ability, he moved up on a scouting report, and teams are not going to let him shoot.
Do you want him to shoot more? Is that something you've been encouraging him, or is it just been kind of letting him do whatever, kind of letting things come natural? Or do you want him really to shoot more than he has been?
No, I think when he gets his shots, I want him to take his shots. We try to do some screening stuff for him, but again, he's getting everyone's kind of no rules defender. Guys doesn't worry about anything. He just face guards him, so it's always going to be tough. But I think he's had some opportunities to get some shots up. I think he has to be ready and prepared to take those shots. But I think at the end of the day, we try to, screen for him, try to get out of in transition and try to see when our transition hasn't been great. So that's also limited his opportunities as well this year.
A little bit of red from yesterday's weekly ACC Zoom. So there we are. For a little bit from Red Autry, info that was not out there as of yet from yesterday, at least publicly, certainly is now. Elijah Moore, Chapel will not play tonight in a walking boot, so yet another change to the starting lineup tonight. Depending on how it sorts out, potentially going to be the 9th different starting lineup that Red has tossed out there this year. I imagine we'll know who it is. Chris Bell, you could toss Chris back in the starting lineup and shuffle Lucas Taylor over to the 2. You could toss Jaycon Carlos out there, Kyle Cuff. There's it. That's the options. We've listed all of the options of what you can realistically do to the starting lineup here. So let's see what they do tonight and how things move around and what the plan is. And, a Chris Bell question at the end. Will Chris have a shooting day? Will he have a good day? Because the Orange needs some complimentary scorers to Starling and Lampkin. You figure they will be there. If those guys aren't there, then it really doesn't matter what the rest of them do. You figure they'll be there, and we'll see what the Orange can add on top of it as they head down trying to even the season series with the Pitt Panthers today, a place they won last year. Orange swept the Panthers last year, 0-1, lost 77-73 back in the Dome 3 weeks ago. With that, we'll take a break for a few. Phone lines open next, 315-437-7644. Join us in the chat. Come hang out. Half an hour away from tip tonight. Cuse and Pittsburgh down in the Steel City. We're back next year on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio.
The Sport.
What is with the Mike Waters slander? What is going on with Mike Waters slander? Yes, a ringer. Who should they add? Air Bud? He did go to North Carolina. That is his alma mater. That Waters. How dare he? Teen Wolf? Babs Bunny? It's aggressive lockout. Without remembering all the specifics from last year, Mike didn't do anything wrong. Oh, Mike's far too old to have spent $100K on a degree. Age joke. Rising cost of colleges joke. Yeah, Mike would have graduated from Carolina in the mid-late 80s. Yeah, there was a lot going on there, Ryan. Yeah, we're going to lean into the brains, hopefully, LA Orange, and the 529 funds that are going to grow and grow. Or maybe the price of college bubble will burst at some point in the next decade. Oh, we got all the snow, Coach D. Yeah, college costs are just bonkers. Straight bonkers. Yeah, that could happen, LA Orange. Oh, it depends where you are. Like up north, they got multiple feet. I must have gotten probably about a foot, maybe in the last week at my house, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot. Like up north by Oswego in that area, they're just getting destroyed. Oh, can they not screw up the end, Zach? Can they play anything resembling defense? And can anybody hit a shot? Oh, we mixed in some ice in the middle there too, Coach D. Like Sunday, Saturday night, Sunday night. What night was it freezing rain? Like all my trees yesterday were covered in ice, and then it got really windy, and the ice kept like blowing off the trees into my house and just like smacking against the house. Yeah, we know about Fire Mike in this chat, so we can. Yeah, that was just it's been wild.
Big Toyota pregame show.
Yes, sir. It's pregame because the game has not happened yet. We are before the game as we roll along here on this Tuesday evening. Oh, one update. Never updated you on this earlier. Women's lacrosse has gone final. Syracuse knocks off Cornell earlier today in the Dome, 18-10. That game wrapped up a half hour or so ago. Olivia Adamson and Emma Ward both going for 3 goals and 2 assists. What do you know? Women's lacrosse, once again, pretty good. So that is good. We're awaiting on starting lineups to be officially posted for Syracuse and Pittsburgh tonight. Why, you might ask? Because there will be a change in the Orange starting lineup. Yet again, our Harding and Mazzati injury report. Chapo Moore out tonight, walking boot. Have we done this already with the walking boot? Not expected to be as serious as Donnie Freeman, hopefully, as that resulted in a season-ending surgery. I know this, if we wait as long on Chapa for a resolution of it, the season will have been over for several weeks by that point. So we'll see. After today, there's not a game until next Wednesday. No game this upcoming weekend for the only time during conference play this season. But no Chapa Moore tonight. Elijah is out walking boot this evening. And again, I go back to last game. He didn't play in the second half. Red was asked after the game, is it injury related? The answer then was no. Here we are, 3 days later. Chapa not going tonight. Don't have any updates on that. Time now for This Day in SU Basketball History, brought to you by Shep Family Funeral Home. Celebrate your loved one with help from Shep. Visit shepfamily.com. All-time series now stands Syracuse 75 and Pitt 51 after Pitt beat Syracuse back 3 weeks ago in the Dome 77-73. That was a game in which we saw it last game as well. Really, the two games this season, J.J. Starling's gotten in foul trouble. He played 26 minutes in that game, picked up 2 early first-half fouls. On Saturday against North Carolina, J.J. played 29 minutes after picking up 2 early first-half fouls. Both games, he still ended up scoring. He had 22 this past Saturday at 16 in that loss to Pittsburgh last time out, but he sat a significant stretch of the first half in that game. I remember at that time saying, man, when you want to get J.J. back in, Syracuse had the lead. Could you have pressed the advantage? And then J.J. ended up, he picked up his third foul right away in the second half, and then he never had any more fouls in that game. That was a game Syracuse led, and it just kind of trickled away, and they couldn't quite grasp it in the last minute. Chris Bell, 12 points in that game. He hit 4 threes in the Dome. And that was that. He had 0 of anything else. Will Chris Bell contribute today? Will Chris Bell start today? Could this mark his return to the starting lineup? This is presumably going to be somebody's return to the starting lineup. The question is it going to be Chris Bell or is it going to be Jaquan Carlos, unless Kyle Cuff, that would be my last guess of the 3, but unless Kyle Cuff gets the nod in the starting lineup today. That was a game that Peter Mastorovich had a nice game. He had 10 points and 5 rebounds, 22 minutes first time out. He's coming off a 25-minute game in which he had 7 points. Will we see some more Mastorovich here today? The main thing, though, that happened that game, Eddie Lampkin, 10 points, solid, 23 rebounds in the previous meeting. 23 rebounds for Lampkin in the previous meeting. Ended up being the third most single-game school history for Syracuse. Eddie's coming off a 26.11 rebound game. He's been basically double-doubles darn near every game since then. If Syracuse is going to win today, is Eddie going to need 23 rebounds? That seems aggressive, but he's going to need a significant rebounding game, I think. And what we didn't see last game is the second chances in the first meeting between these teams were not converted enough into second chance points. They Orange had a 17 rebound advantage in that game. 17. Second chance points were even in that game, 16 apiece. So if you're going to hit the glass like that, you got to convert on the second attempt going around this time. So Lampkin, we're used to Pitt, big, bruising centers. That's not what they are this year. They're a guard-led unit with Jalen Lowe and Ishmael Leggett. Guard-led unit. Lampkin, the way he's been playing, there's an opportunity today, I think, for Lampkin to have a really, really big game. There was an opportunity. I mean, he had a big game the last time. He just didn't convert as many points. Like last time, you look at Eddie Lampkin's line last time against Pitt, 10 points and 23 rebounds. You would have wished it was like 16 points and 19 rebounds. A few more second chance points, a few less third chances with the ball not going in, because he had a few multi-rebound possessions in that game last time out in the Dome. Looking back about 3 weeks or so, slightly less than a month. It was back on late January back in the Dome. So we'll see what they can do tonight. And then the other side of it is, can Syracuse corral their guards? Jalen Lowe had a great game in that one. He had 22 points. He's coming back tonight after missing the last game with a concussion. What can he do? And then add in the Peterson Event Center, a place that is never friendly to visit. Though, if you want something, Adrian Autry, 1-0 all-time head coach at the Peterson Event Center. Syracuse did sweep the season series last year, and we'll see if they can go in and get one tonight. Or is it going to be another L? And then we're going to be looking toward that NC State game next week. And we're getting really into that game. Could quickly become are you going to put yourself in a mess of potentially missing the ACC tournament? You get one more win, I think you basically avoid any scenario where that's possible. But you lose tonight, then that NC State game, they're one of the teams behind you right now, then it gets a little tight around the collar as we get later and later and closer to the end of the season. All right, let's hit a break here. When we come back, we'll get you our keys to the game. Hopefully check out the starting lineup sooner than later and get you all set for Syracuse and Pittsburgh tonight. Back with the rest of our pregame coverage brought to you by Burdick after this here on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. That he did, Laker. Kevin was good earlier if you all missed it. Auburn was in the Final Four in 2019? I totally forgot that. Is that the year Virginia won? Rome is buried? Sorry about that, Rome. All right, Virginia-Auburn was that crazy semi game. Yeah, the snow's been... The article I read this morning was it's a lake effect, drawing from 4 of the Great Lakes. I'm like, what? Never heard of that before. It's like super lake effect or something. I think it's... Should be about to start snowing again down here. Dr. Braswell, Ryan? Is he still at Charlotte? Where is he? What was their record before the tourney? I think like 14-11, or no, well, that's not enough games. 17-14, I think, Chris? Something like that? No, the snow's bumped back a couple hours. Next Thursday? I can't even think that far ahead. Braswell's still in school. I don't think I realized that. He hasn't really done anything at Charlotte either. Bobby Braz. Oh, you've got one of those sleep test things? Yeah, Bryson's out there. Where is he? In Oklahoma now, just lighting it up. Jaquan Carlos is back in the starting lineup. Yeah. Jalen was in school at least 6 years, right? These guys just like, they're just still there. Dari, they're all just there. All right, last few minutes with you, working our way toward a 7 o'clock tip time tonight at the Pete. Starting lineups are in. I'm about to thrill all of you with this information. I can tell it. I feel it in my bones. You'll all be very excited. Chapel Moore not starting tonight. He's not playing tonight. He's got a walking boot. He is out for, question mark. We haven't really heard anything officially on it, but that is the word from down in Pittsburgh right now. I imagine it'll be addressed by Red after the game. In his stead in the starting lineup, it is the return of one Jaquan Carlos to the starting five for Syracuse. So Carlos is back in to the starting lineup for the Orange here tonight. He will be joined in the starting five by J.J. Starling, Lucas Taylor, Jair Davis, and Eddie Lampkin. I wondered if they wouldn't leave J.J. starting at the point, slide Taylor up to the 2, and reinsert Chris Bell to the starting lineup. Realistically, Bell or Carlos were the two players that made the most sense here. Obviously, either way you go, or had it been Chapel. Again, this is the problem of the year. There's no great answer here. There's no great answer here. If Chapa was healthy and him starting tonight, well, I think we all believe that's the best answer for potentially the future. It's not necessarily the best answer for tonight. There's no great answer here. So we'll see how the minutes get broken down. Carlos played 32 minutes last game. Will there be more Bell? Will Taylor play more guard? What do you got? Do you go big at some point? I don't know. It's just this is where we're at right now. This is where we're at right now. Starting lineup for Pittsburgh, as expected, Jalen Lowe is back in the starting five after missing the win against Miami over the weekend for the Panthers with a concussion suffered against SMU last week. He'll start alongside Ishmael Leggett. Both those players averaging 16 points a game this year, a very feared backcourt in the league. Front line of Zach Austin, Guillermo Diaz-Graham, and Cam Corrin starts in the middle. And this is here, we're looking at Corrin v. Lampkin. Corrin's averaging 11 points, 5 boards a game this year, but he's tall, but he's a bit of a string bean. He's not DeJuan Blair. He is not, any Aaron Gray. He's not these big Pitt centers that you remember from years past. He's a bit of a string bean. We saw last meeting 3 weeks ago, same matchup. Lampkin had 23 rebounds. You want to deliver Syracuse a route to a win tonight? You want to look at the mismatch in your favor? You want to look at the numbers Lampkin's been putting up essentially every game since then? Can Eddie Lampkin go off tonight? Averaging 11 points, 9.5 rebounds. He had 26 last game. He's going to, realistically, can he do that again? Can Eddie Lampkin drop 25 and 15? Can he go out there and have a performance that's just like, all right, here is the Eddie Lampkin game? Because realistically, you look at what you got, unless the rest of these guys are going to hit a bunch of outside shots today, and Syracuse hit only 4 threes, surrendered 13 in the loss to North Carolina on Saturday. Unless you're going to hit some shots from the outside, and nobody's shooting that well right now, then that's your route to victory here today. Getting it inside to Lampkin and him taking advantage of his size advantage against a very, not short, but Corrin, Diaz-Graham. It's a thin front line. These are more rangy, string beanie type guys that Lampkin has a serious power advantage over. What we saw, though, last meeting, while he got the rebounds a lot, was getting the ball in the basket. That became an issue. The ball's got to go in the hoop in order for it to count for 2 points. So we'll see if Lampkin can have a big game today, because realistically, that's the best route to victory today here for the Orange. JJ's going to have to do what he does. He had 16 against them last time. He's going to need to drop 20-some-odd today. That's just the way. That's the cost of doing business right now for the Orange. And then out of Lucas Taylor, Kyle Cuff, Jaquan Carlos, Chris Bell, Jair Davis. Who can hit some shots? Who's going to hit some shots in the ball game today? And if Syracuse can hit 7-8 threes, okay, you're in the mix. If you can hit 7-8 threes, you're in the mix. But as much of an advantage as Lampkin should have inside today, Like, this is basketball in 2025. You got to hit some threes. You have to hit some threes. And can JJ get to the line today? I don't know. He hasn't been shooting a ton of free throws as of late. Can he get to the line? And can Syracuse keep Leggett and Lowe off the line? Jalen Lowe got to the line a ton in that meeting in the Dome 3 weeks ago. So I think that's all going to go in the mixer today and see how it comes out. This is a winnable game for the same reason this whole stretch of games has been winnable, and it's not because anything has changed with Syracuse. It's because Pitt's not where I thought they were going to be in the league. When Pitt came in the first time, I'm like, okay, all their losses are to the top of the league. Well, scratch that, throw that out. That's all changed. They were riding a 4-game losing streak until they beat Miami over the weekend. Pitt's in the same muck as most of the league right now. They're not great. They're not a tournament team. They're just there. It's a gettable game. That said, it's the same story the other way. Syracuse is not great. They're there. Pitt's like, yeah, we just beat them. We can win this game. These are one of these games, like, if you're Syracuse, can you win any of these games? Like, the Miami game was just there for you. You didn't get it. The Carolina game was just there for you. You didn't get it. Can you go get one of these? Just everyone's in the same bucket of meh in the ACC this year. If you're not, Duke for sure, Louisville and Clemson absolutely, and then maybe SMU, maybe not. Definitely the top 3, and those are the only 3 I'm 100% confident in putting in that group right now. If you're not in that group, then anything, any day in this league would not be remotely surprising. The Orange 10.5-point dogs right now, I think just because of that, like Syracuse, as much as it feels like they have been, in these games, Syracuse has not been getting blown out. The other games, the Duke, the Louisville, Clemson, yeah, wiped off the face of the earth. These games, Tennessee, yeah, these games not getting blown out. Syracuse 10.5-point dogs tonight, I think they cover that. If that does anything for you. That said, unfortunately, I think the same thing happens late, as we've seen happening late, and that last minute or two of the game, Syracuse has not been making winning plays. Hasn't been making winning plays. I got an 81-74 tonight with Pitt taking the win, but it just feels like another similar kind of game that we've seen here over the course of the last month or so. Is it possible it turns around? Could Eddie have a dominant game? Yeah. But it feels like the same game we've been seeing, and until the eyes see otherwise, you kind of have to keep going down that path here in this one. Again, we are, 7-8 minutes away from opening tip. If you're looking to watch the game tonight, ACC Network is your place. Doug Sherman on the call, Syracuse grad. Listen to the game, TK99, that's your spot. Matt Park, Jim Saddlein, and Paulie are all down in Pittsburgh tonight. And then after the game, come right back here. Tim Leonard will be with you post-game. We'll take all of your calls. We'll hear from Red. We'll break it all down post-game, as we always do right here after the game. And we'll see if it's a different tale from the same one we've been talking about time and time and time again recently. As far as myself, I'll talk to you all tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Normal deal on a Wednesday. We'll be here. Alan Griffin will be by. Expect him live in studio, I do believe, tomorrow. Griff's got something on his chest. We'll see what he wants to get off his chest to start off our segment at 4:30 tomorrow, and then we'll get his thoughts on the game tonight. And much, much more. Always good to chat with Griff on a Wednesday. With that, enjoy the game, everybody. Hopefully we'll enjoy it tonight. Stay tuned on the radio, on TV. Come back with Tim here in a couple hours. I'll be with you tomorrow right here at 4 o'clock. Glad to be here, as always, on Cuse Sports Talk and ESPN Radio in Syracuse.